The Indiana Dunes State Park on the Discovery Trail features gorgeous trails, amazing beaches, and unbeatable views of Lake Michigan. The park also offers a wonderful introduction to the history and natural splendor of the dunes.
If I were to bring my family here from out of town to visit the Indiana Dunes State Park, I would stop here at the Nature Center and talk with the naturalists.
The Nature Center offers interpretive exhibits on the cultural history and the natural history of the Indiana Dunes State Park. So inside the Nature Center, you'll find different reptiles and amphibians that are native here to the Indiana Dunes State Park. We have interpretive naturalists that will often bring out those animals. Nature Center is really your gateway to a lot of our beautiful trails in the state park. It's important to stop in, talk to one of our volunteers or interpretive naturalists to kind of learn some guidance if it's your first visit here on what trails to take. They can set you in the right direction using our park maps.
The campground at the Indiana Dunes State Park is an ideal home base for your Discovery Trail adventures.
So one of visitors' favorite adventures to do at the Indiana Dunes State Park is called the 3-Dune Challenge. It starts just ahead, right here on Trail 8, and this 1.5-mile loop trail takes you across 3 of the largest dunes in the whole Indiana Dunes National Park and Indiana Dunes State Park.
There are 3 mountains, Mount Holden and Jackson as well. Mount Tom is the tallest dune in the Dunes State Park. These high dunes are about 2,000 years old, and they formed from the storms that produce northwest winds that blow off the lake. Here I am standing in the middle of the blowout on Mount Tom. A blowout is where sand has been blown inland. Most of the grass you see here is kind of a brownish, reddish color, and that's little blue stem grass. The marram grass, it can withstand being buried. In fact, this grass will only flower when it's being buried.
Walking the trails of the Indiana Dunes State Park, visitors can see firsthand the powerful natural forces that have shaped the environment over centuries.
We're here at Trail 3, which really shows the story of succession. Starts right at beach, and then it meanders through the 4 dunes, which you can see all around me. And then as you move back farther onto the trail, you can see more species starting to grow. Some jack pines, and so you're starting to get into a forest habitat, and we actually have an oak savanna. From the oak savanna, you will meander around a marsh. So therefore, you've covered 4 habitats in just this mile trail.
This is Trail 3 right along here. In 1987, my sister-in-law told my wife and I that we should hike it sometime. We came out one evening after work, and when we got to about here, I said to my wife, "Oh my goodness, I think there's a prairie down there." It was exciting to discover this prairie here in the Dunes State Park, and now it's a separate nature preserve called the Dunes Prairie Nature Preserve. Prairies and oak savannas are species rich. They have a lot of plant diversity in the understory. So in the prairie, you've got the dominant grasses, but then you have a lot of species of herbs.
The unique ecosystems that have developed in the Indiana Dunes are home to an astonishing variety of plant life, all living together in the state park.
The really unique thing about the Indiana Dunes State Park and Dunes Nature Preserve is the variety of habitats that are here. You could be an eastern prickly pear cactus, which is something that you find more in western states, next to jack pine, which are often found in more northern states. This really is a transition zone for plant communities.
There's 687 native plants known from the Dunes State Park. So the reason for this high plant diversity has to do with a lot of factors. But one of them is proximity to Lake Michigan that moderates the climate. We also have these sand dunes that provide a lot of topography and some deep sheltered valleys. And then we have wetlands between the dunes.
So cinnamon fern is found here in our wetlands, and it gets its name from the fertile frond, which is a cinnamon color.
This is blue stem goldenrod. It's one of the late flowering goldenrods.
In the spring, you can see things like starflower and Canada mayflower.
We are fortunate to have witch hazel in bloom right now. It typically blooms in the fall. This plant is in seed, and it's called thoroughwort. It's in the aster family. The hairs are called pappus, and the pappus, they're helping to disperse the seed.
We have native roses that grow in these savannas with beautiful pink color to them. Carolina rose, it's a native shrub.
The park is filled with beautiful flowers and plants, and it's important they remain here. They serve a crucial function not only in supporting the wildlife, but helping sustain the sandy dunes landscape.
Often you'll find really showy, beautiful plants and grasses, but they're protected. They're supposed to remain here. So please do not pick flowers. Please do not dig up plants and take them back.
Anything found in the park should remain in the park.
There is a hidden flower within the state park called the fringed polygala. It is important that we keep it a secret because it is an endangered plant that only grows on the side of one specific dune. We're happy to show you this tiny gem in this video, but please do not go searching for it. It is far off trail and nearly impossible to find. It's important that it remains hidden to keep it protected.
A lot of these native plants now are being carried by a variety of garden centers.
While preserving and protecting native plants is crucial to preserving the park, staying on marked trails is equally vital. Leaving the marked trails damages the soil and plants, and it can even lead to the spread of invasive species.
It's really important to stay on the trail. And here at the Indiana Dunes, it's serious because what happens is over time, foot traffic breaks through that first 6 inches of soil, and that sand easily erodes and travels. That sand will begin to cover up some plants that may be endangered, you can't find anywhere else in the state. So we call these trails that aren't actually trails, social trails.
If you can see down here, these little zigzag trails, they're called social trails. These actually damage the preservation of the dunes.
So make sure whenever you visit a park that you have the park map either pulled up on your phone or a paper copy of it. We also have an invasive species called Phragmites. And Phragmites can really start to take over a habitat. It has thousands of different seeds. Those seeds spread out and completely take over. So we have managers here at the state park that will go out, remove those species.
Park rangers and volunteers work tirelessly to care for the state park. These efforts can seem modest, like pulling invasive weeds, but they also include more dramatic action, like prescribed burns. Fire actually has a crucial part to play in maintaining the delicate ecological balance of the dunes. The results of these burns can be spectacular.
A few years ago, the Department of Natural Resources worked with the Indiana Dunes State Park staff, and we have been trying to restore this black oak sand savanna behind us. We have been seeing an increase in things like red-headed woodpeckers nesting here and feeding here. We also see things like hognose snakes and wildflowers like lupin in the spring or blazing stars in late summer. It is because we implement prescribed fire along with controlling some of the shrubs and trees that we are getting these results.
The careful maintenance and protection of the Indiana Dunes State Park has been the work of many, spanning more than a century. It's an effort that has included volunteers, naturalists, and public officials.
So behind me is the beautiful Dunes Creek, which empties out into Lake Michigan here at the Indiana Dunes State Park. This creek was actually completely inside of a cement culvert. And then in the early 2000s, we had a process done called daylighting, which is where all of that culvert was taken out, basically brought the creek back into sunlight, and we were able to plant native plants. Because of that, the water quality here at the Indiana Dunes State Park's beach improved significantly.
Back in 1971, the Division of Nature Preserves worked with the Division of State Parks and Reservoirs, and we set this aside permanently when we added layers of protection of what could and could not be done here. Also in 1975, this also became a national natural landmark, which adds another layer of protection.
The Prairie Club and other organizations were promoting making a national park here. They had planned a pageant here to promote the effort to save the dunes in May of 1917. And the pageant was held between the national park and the state park. So it's historically an important event in the history of trying to preserve the dunes. 8 years later, Governor Jackson of Indiana signed the law that created the Dunes State Park.
The efforts of so many don't just benefit the visitors to the state park. There are natural residents who rely on this unique habitat to survive. When walking the trails, you might just catch a glimpse of these amazing creatures.
The reason these were protected was because there are biological diversity. There are many plants and animals that are found here. Things like six-line race runners, which is a species of lizard that can be found in those open dune and marram grass habitats.
An even smaller creature can often be found on the edges of sandy trails. It's an ambush predator called an antlion. It digs pits to trap passing ants or other prey. It cleverly uses the sand's instability to shift the victim to the center of the funnel, where the antlion awaits.
Raccoons will often come down to Dunes Creek and it looks like they're washing their hands when in fact they actually have a really heightened sense of touch. So by taking things down to the water, they're able to see their food and feel their food so much better. A Dunes Creek habitat might be a really good spot to see beaver. If you're really quiet and are around in the evening hours, you might see them swimming or even hear their tail flap against the creek. Muskrat will often be seen swimming. The American beaver is actually significantly bigger than a muskrat. So beavers you're looking at anywhere from 60 to 70 to 80 pounds, whereas a muskrat is closer to 10, maybe 15 pounds.
The dunes are also a crucial way station for migrating birds, who find food and shelter in the trees along the shores of Lake Michigan.
In the spring, you'll start noticing a difference of bird species, like egrets that will be foraging in the wetlands.
The State Park Nature Center features a bird viewing room that lets you get close to the dozens of species that feed only a few feet away. It's a great spot to visit any time of year.
In the winter time, we get really excited for some of our winter finches, like the pine siskins or maybe a purple finch. Behind us is the Longshore Bird Observation Platform. Its design makes it completely accessible to all of our visitors. Birders have been gathering at this spot for many, many years to see a migration of bird species that come down along the shores of Lake Michigan. So we see over 200 species every spring. We also have a really nice checklist sign that shows the different species after they've been sighted by our DNR personnel who is up here counting birds.
The Indiana Dunes State Park is an unforgettable stop on the Discovery Trail. As you take in stunning vistas or enjoy the serenity of nature hiking along its forest trails, be sure to appreciate the special habitats and biodiversity that makes the Dunes area special. The Indiana Dunes Discovery Trail is an incredible natural treasure, and you are an important part of ensuring its future. When you visit, be sure to follow all posted signs and instructions. Visit indianadunes.com to learn about all of the volunteer opportunities and spend time caring for this fragile environment. In addition to the national and state park services, a number of nonprofit agencies work tirelessly to preserve and protect the Indiana Dunes Discovery Trail habitats. Learn more about these important agencies and support their efforts with your charitable contributions. Finally, be a champion for the Indiana Dunes. Stay informed and use your voice to tell the story of this wonderful place. Help ensure that all visitors, the magnificent birds, the migrating butterflies, and friends from around the world can enjoy the Indiana Dunes Discovery Trail for generations to come. Check out the links below to get started.